The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of M.A.P.S Media or its affiliates. This content is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as professional advice, political endorsements, or the official stance of any organization mentioned. Basically, we talk shit. You listen, and M.A.P.S Media stays drama-free. And this podcast is not for children, because we cuss.
I am a bronze card-carrying member of the Beehive. I said what I fucking said. I have this woman's face on my wall, and when Mother drops a product, and I mean any product, I don't care if Beyoncé told me to buy a specific brand of gravel. I'm opening up my wallet because, in the words of Carisha, we spin that shit. We spin that shit. And she might be problematic. Maybe we need a new phrase. But you know what I mean. So when Beyoncé showed up at Kamala Harris's rally in 2024, me, at home, I might have been at work, I don't remember, I gasped. Like out loud. I gasped. Because here was my favorite person on the planet standing up and speaking about things I cared about. Women's rights to choose, about voting rights, about showing up. And I felt that. Something in my chest moved and I was like, yes, she gets us. She is us. And then I sat back down and I thought, wait, Beyoncé has never once claimed to be a policy expert. I don't know if she's read a single piece of legislation in her life. She probably knows as much about Kamala Harris's actual platform as most people do, which isn't a lot. But here's the thing. If I wasn't already all the way in, all the way following this race, probably closer than most people, working at a digital news outlet and being an election reporter, that moment might have been enough. That feeling might have been the thing that pushed me. And that scared me a little because that's not democracy. That's me being pushed to vote.
We have another interview that's a blast from the past, but our guest today is Dr. Matthew Knowles, talking about the intersections of celebrity, politics, voting, and race. And a little business too.
And I am Lise Winnie, I'm your host, and we're going to talk about it on this episode of We Vote Too.
Yo, we stepping up now, feeling so proud. Got that rhythm in our soul, let's get this vote. Nothing but hope. Every single person, yeah, we're speaking out. Yeah, we're here to move, let's go, let's groove. We vote too.
So let's actually get into this. Because what has happened with Beyoncé at that rally and that feeling that I just described, that is not unique to me. That is not a Beehive thing. That is a human thing. And it is being used intentionally, strategically. And I hate saying this, by both sides. And the question I want to spend this whole episode sitting with is, when did we stop needing politicians to actually convince us and start needing celebrities to do it for them? We gotta go back. Mind you, politically, celebrities and famous people have been used for a very, very long time. Politicians even ran, like Ronald Reagan. But there was a moment that I keep coming back to in my mind when I think about how we got here. And that's Colin Kaepernick. The moment I realized that celebrity has a lot more power. This man, he just kneeled. He didn't make a speech. He didn't endorse anyone. He didn't start a PAC. He kneeled during a song at his job. And it ended his career. And MAGA went after him so hard, so fast, so completely that I need you to register what that response actually tells us. You don't go that hard after something that doesn't matter. You don't lose your entire mind over a man quietly bending his knee unless that man has power that threatens you. And celebrity has power, and that was the proof. Fast forward to 2020, King James is in a bubble in Orlando. He can't leave, COVID is happening, and the entire world is on fucking fire. And he is still inside a controlled environment in Florida using every inch of his platform to say something, and half of America called him a hero and half of America said shut up and dribble, which, and I say this with full sincerity, is the most revealing phrase in recent American history, because shut up and dribble means entertain me, don't think in front of me, don't remind me that you're a full person with opinions and rights and a community you actually care about. Stay in your lane. But here's the funny thing about lanes. The same people who said that to LeBron James were going to watch Joe Rogan 4 years later and take political notes. Joe Rogan is not a journalist, and he will tell you that himself. He is a comedian who likes to smoke things and talk to people for 3 hours. That's his whole thing. But somewhere between the conspiracy theories and the elk meat, his podcast became one of the most politically influential platforms in this country. Trump went on the Joe Rogan effect, and that interview was viewed tens of millions of times, more than any debate, more than any campaign stop, more than any ad buy. And what made it work was exactly what makes all of this shit work. It felt real. There's no moderator, there's no fact checker, there's no time limit. Just a guy talking for 3 hours in that way. It felt like your uncle who was just talking about stuff. And whether he actually knows stuff, that's a different episode. RFK also went on, and then a string of guests that all started to sound like a very specific choir went on, and it moved votes, actual votes. And once that formula worked, everybody wanted that format.
Okay, so here's where it gets a little wild though, because it's not just celebrities endorsing politicians anymore. It's gone much further than that. The Trump administration came in the second time and said, and I'm paraphrasing this, but barely, we don't need your press corps. We're gonna build our own this time.
By the press secretary's staff will be called the new media seat. My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex. So in light of these announcements, our first questions for today's briefing will go to these new media members, whose outlets, despite being some of the most viewed news websites in the country, have not been given seats in this room.
And they meant it this time. They credentialed influencers, podcasters, content creators, people with millions of followers and no editorial board, and some of them a very clear understanding of what they were there to do, which was not journalism. And that's not a real press room. That's marketing. And we need to be honest about that. And the Democrats, listen, I gotta be fair. They started paying influencers to spread messaging, which is fine in the same way that an ad is fine, except when your audience doesn't know it's an ad, when the line between political content and sponsor content gets so blurred that people can't tell what they're watching, that's a problem. And we have a serious media literacy problem in this country already. But we have to talk about it. We have to talk about September 2024, because this is the moment where I realize there is no going back. We are fully, completely, permanently in the era of celebrity politics. Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. And the man who was about to become the president of the United States again posted on Truth Social, his platform, and I need you to see this, in all caps. A 78-year-old man, probably from a bathroom, posted, "I hate Taylor Swift." At 10:44 in the fucking morning. The man running for the highest office in the country. And then, months later, he came back with, "Has anyone ever noticed since I said I hate Taylor Swift, she's no longer hot?" Sir, this woman's okay. She did a 149-date world tour that made $2 billion. $2 billion. She's not looking at Truth Social. I think she's fine. But here's why this matters beyond being absolutely unhinged, and it is unhinged, and I just want to name that. The fact that a presidential candidate felt the need to publicly declare war on a pop star tells you everything about how much weight celebrity endorsements actually carry now.
You don't I hate Taylor Swift someone unless Taylor Swift power scares you. And I mean political power, which is already odd because she's a pop star. But here is the real twist, the one I think about constantly. It's not just celebrities becoming political, it's politicians becoming celebrities. And now Trump, he ran his entire political identity on a TV character he'd been playing for 14 seasons. He didn't walk into 2016 race as a politician. He walked in as a brand, as a person people already felt like they knew. And that familiarity, that parasocial relationship people had built with him over decades of reality TV, that became votes. And at the time, a lot of those people weren't asking, does this TV character have anything to do with governance? Because that's not how celebrity works. We don't ask celebrities if they're qualified. We ask if we like them. And speaking of inexperience, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, former Fox News host, or war, whatever.
Down goes Hegseth. Duncan Dad on New Year's Eve.
Gunner got it.
Pitch, Gunner. Nice pitch. Gunner's grounded.
Tonight, the Hegseth kids will never forget.
This is your secretary? This clip is real. His children were there. He drank out of a tank. He told the cameras, bottoms up. And then he went before the Senate and said he didn't have a drinking problem. He also promised to stop drinking, if confirmed. I'll let you Google how that's going. And then there's Dr. Oz, who is now genuinely, actually, in real life, running Medicare and Medicaid as head of CMS in the Trump administration. A man who spent years selling miracle cures on television, cures that were tested, debunked on camera multiple times, is now making decisions about healthcare of millions of Americans. And Linda McMahon, the WWE executive, is in the cabinet again.
Making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. And
I want to be clear. I'm not saying that these people haven't accomplished real things. I'm saying the reason their names got them in the room was not policy. It was recognition. It was the celebrity economy of trust that says, I know this face, therefore I trust this face. And that is dangerous. Which brings me back to where I started, because I can't let myself off the hook here. I love Beyoncé. I told you that. I have her face on my wall. I buy her products. I go to her concerts. And she has spoken out. When she has, it mattered. The imagery in Lemonade, the statement after George Floyd, showing up for Kamala, these were real moments. But here's the paradox. I cannot shake. Beyoncé is a billionaire. And the tax policies that would benefit Beyoncé are not the same policies that would benefit the people buying the tickets, the people saving for months to be in that stadium, the people who have her face on their wall. She would benefit from the Jobs and Tax Cut Act. Her fans, by large, would not. So what does it mean when a celebrity tells you to vote a certain way, even a celebrity you love, even one who clearly cares, when their financial reality is so far from yours that they may not fully feel the impact of the policies they're pointing you towards? How does a celebrity speak for us when they are no longer of us? That's not a criticism. That's a genuine question, one I don't have a clean answer to. But it matters. It matters so much. And all of this lives inside a bigger crisis that I think is the actual crisis of our time. We don't know how to read media anymore. And I don't mean that as shade. I mean, we were never really taught. And now the landscape has changed faster than any of us can keep up with. And people are getting their political information from 60-second videos, from celebrities who don't know the policy, from influencers who are being paid to post and don't tell you that. There are people who have not read a full news article in years. Their entire political reality is constructed from clips, from comments, from what their favorite person said on their favorite platform. And then they vote. And so do you. And so do I. And somewhere in that process, somewhere between the celebrity rally and the algorithm and the all caps truth social post, we have to find a way to ask, who actually told me this? Do they know? What do they stand for? What do they stand to gain? And is this actually true? Because if we don't ask those questions, we are no longer voters. We're just an audience who's been influenced. I've been holding something for this episode. A while back, I got to sit down with someone who sits at the very specific, very unique intersection of everything we just talked about. Here's a businessman, a music industry veteran, a man who grew up in the South at a time when voting wasn't something you debated. It was something people died for, something people bled for. And he has a very particular, very personal understanding of what celebrity and politics means together, and as well as marketing, because he helped build one of the biggest celebrity brands in history. We talked about 2020, about COVID, about being in the house, glued to the TV, getting information pumped at us from everywhere, some celebrities, influencers, politicians, memes, how hard it was to know what was true and how much it affected the way people voted and whether they voted at all. We talked about what it actually costs a celebrity to speak out, what they risk, what they lose, and what it says when they do it anyway. And we talked about why voting matters, not as a slogan, as something he knows in his body from where he comes from what his community paid to have that right. Coming from a man who himself is a public figure and the father of one of the most famous people alive, he has a perspective on all of this that nobody else has. Please welcome his voice to We Vote Too, Dr. Matthew Knowles. I am excited to present, should I call you doctor? Because you have a PhD. A lot of people don't, I don't know if they know that.
Yeah, I have a PhD, MBA, and I'm teaching 2 universities, and that's my passion. But it's up to you, Lise. You can either call me, I have many names, Mr. Knowles, Dr. Knowles, Matthew Knowles, Beyoncé and Solange's dad. So I have all 4 of those titles. I don't get caught up in that. You know, in academia, I'm Dr. Knowles, but when it's not academia, I'm open to Mr. Knowles, Matthew Knowles. I don't know if you're old enough to call me Matthew.
Okay. So I want to ask you, we know a lot about you being Beyoncé and Solange's dad, but we don't know a lot about you. So I want to ask you, how did you manage to go from a corporate executive, a music manager, an author, a professor, and now in PR so quickly and be able to adjust? Were you always in, even when you were in corporate America, were you always in like marketing, like a marketing setting?
That's a great question because this semester at Prairie View A&M University, which is HBCU, I teach sport, events, and entertainment marketing. And my thing is fundamental marketing works across all disciplines.
Okay.
And so I was fortunate to have a great teacher, Xerox Corporation in the 70s, late 70s, and stayed at Xerox for 10 years. And I credit Xerox with a lot of fundamental sales and marketing acronyms that I learned over time. I had a degree in economics and one from in business administration from Fisk University. So I've had the academia as well as the experience, 20 years in corporate America. So when I made the transition to the music industry, and you have to understand, there's been many transitions. My former wife and friend, Tina, we had a beauty and hair salon for 17 years that was ranked number 1 in Houston. We actually was fortunate and grateful to make our first $1 million around 1985. So for those of you that think Beyonce made us, no, she would have been 4 years old and her parents were millionaires. Do the math.
Okay.
We didn't know anything about the clothing business. And we were fortunate. We started House of Darion, that then became also Darion and the Miss Tina brand at Walmart. And we were fortunate to sell that for $75 million to Leon Fung. It's public information. And then we got, I was moved into the music industry, sold Music World in 2002 for $10 million. And all this is public information. So anyone can Google it and find this out.
Know if in the beginning, if you guys were using other designers, because wasn't that true that you guys were like responsible for a lot of those iconic looks that we saw?
I give all 100% of that credit to Tina, my former wife. She was the creative force and imaging of what the girls' look was. And obviously they had feedback, because Kelly and Beyonce, we all live as a family and salons lived together. But I have to credit where credit is due. Tina was that creative force of the design of the wardrobe. And that was a very important piece of Destiny's Child, was the imaging.
Yes. So you guys single-handedly changed a lot of the way we viewed groups and the physicality of it and all of the imagery of it. And you did an amazing job with marketing them. And that's why I wanted to really reach out to you. I want to ask you, because things are changing now. We're seeing a lot of people getting on the internet, and with a lot of the things that are happening in the Black Lives Matter movement, we're seeing progression. As a PR professional, I want to get your expertise. What are your thoughts on it? We're seeing a lot of artists who are stepping out in front of the camera, which was unusual back in the 80s and 90s. Artists weren't doing that as much. In the 60s, yes, 60s, 70s, but in the 80s and 90s, not as much, where they're starting to really put out their opinions at the cost of losing certain opportunities. How do you feel about that? Do you think that this is something that we should see more of? Do you think that the way that some of the artists are doing this maybe should be handled a little differently? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm glad you said, because as you were talking, I was thinking at the cost of losing fans and opportunities. So you're absolutely right. A lot of people don't realize when these artists, entertainers, athletes step out and speak up, they do pay a financial price. And I hope we appreciate when they do that and thank them for it, which often we don't. I grew up in the 50s in Alabama, and this is a small amount of racism, which none of it is good. But compared to the 50s and 60s, what racism looked like in America was totally different. I've been beaten. I've been electric prodded. I've been spit on. And I never went to a black school until I went to Fisk my junior year of college. So I desegregated in the 50s and 60s, junior high, high school, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And so I have looked racism in the eye in a different light. I've seen older men and women beaten unmercifully, begging. And it's a different thing. And all of that was so that we could have the right to vote. And that's what I want to get to. Black Lives Matter to me is way more than going out to protest.
Okay.
And I first want to applaud our young people for doing that. Don't get me wrong. I have much appreciation and gratitude and respect for young people that did that. But if it's really going to be about Black Lives Matter, it has to be the totality of blackness. First of all, Black Lives Matter should mean it matters to me that you're a black person. And I'm going to respect you and give honor to you because you're a black person. That's where it should start, with black people, with Black Lives Matter. You can go on any given day on social media and question does Black lives really matter to Black people? I'm not sure that when it comes to impacting how we think, it's used against us, because I've sat in those rooms
Okay.
in the creation of social media, in the creation of how it be used to manipulate young minds. And if anybody's paid attention to our last election, the Russians were found that they manipulated through social media Black people,
Mm-hmm.
targeted specifically Black people. Corporations and products are always using social media to get you excited, to cause a debate. I do it sometimes myself
Okay.
as a business tool. So I always say, just know it's the Jedi mind trick.
A lot of people, I mean, that's a pushback in and of itself when people say that we should look at how we treat each other.
To me, it's four-pronged Black Lives Matter. Black
Okay.
Lives Matter should mean economically Black Lives Matter to Black people, that
Okay.
we spend our dollars in the Black community, that we build up our Black entrepreneurship and businesses. Black Lives Matter to me should mean that we wear a mask,
Okay.
because we understand that more Black and brown people are dying, and Black lives matter. So I'm going to protest with a mask. I'm going to walk the streets with a mask when I'm outside my house. And finally, Black lives matter. None of that. If you don't vote and you protest and you wear a mask but don't vote, you are a damn fool as far as I'm concerned. And you
Okay.
absolutely don't understand Black Lives Matter. You absolutely have no historical perspective on how important it is that we win this election. That's what Black Lives for me means.
Okay, so a lot of the things that you're saying with the t-shirts and the protesting is okay. Like, you don't mind that, or like, even from a PR perspective, there's nothing wrong with that. You just think that maybe when people are out there, should they be pushing more of the policy as opposed to just put up a hashtag, say their names, but you got to do more than that.
I'm saying that the Black Lives Matter should be what I call talk to do ratio.
Okay.
We can't just talk Black Lives Matter. We need to do those four things in our economic power, our entrepreneurship, in our social responsibility of wearing a mask, and our social responsibility of voting, and also the protests. All of those go together, in my opinion. Black Lives Matter. That's no one thing that, to me, indicate Black Lives Matter. Right now, it's more of a protest kind of marketing. But when we look, if we don't win this election, do you think Black Lives Matter?
And unfortunately, under the leadership that we have now, we're not seeing a lot of that. But he's also drumming up a lot of racism, which is
even more so why we need to vote. I hear more Black Lives Matter, but I don't hear Black Lives Matter and we should vote.
Some people believe, I don't believe this, but there are some people that believe that the vote doesn't matter. They're saying that look at all the things, and people will say, well, people were still getting killed by the police under President Barack Obama, and vice versa. So some people are a little skeptical about voting. I understand the importance of it, but there's a lot of young people that are out there like, I don't know if my vote really matters.
Your vote does matter because they haven't educated themselves. Anybody says that has clearly no education about historical, clearly no intellectual capability to understand the importance, to know that 198 judges have been put into office in the last 4 years with our current president. And who makes the decisions in America? Really, the laws are made by judges. And those judges are going to be here for the next 40 years. To think voting doesn't matter, that having a Black police chief and a Black mayor means nothing. That is someone I'm not going to be sugarcoating. That is a fool.
Okay.
They're a fool. And there are some people, I'll use your word some, there are
Okay.
people that are foolish.
Mhm.
They fall into that category. A no vote is a vote for Donald Trump.
Mm.
Now, I guess you would have to have some education to understand that math. But if you don't vote, you're voting for Donald Trump. And again, I'm here not to be rah-rah. I want people to be angry at me. I want to challenge you to think how foolish this all is of not voting. That failure is an opportunity to grow, not a reason to quit.
Mhm.
That's real important that everyone listening now understands that if you're really doing something, you're going to make some mistakes. It's those that's not doing anything, playing it safe, that don't make mistakes. People that are in leadership roles and entrepreneurial roles and whatever type of role, you're going to make some mistakes because you're doing something. You do 5 things versus if you're doing 500, then a person doing 500 things has a greater percentage of mistakes they're going to make because they're doing them.
That's
That's
true.
just simple math. So for me, there's been a number of mistakes and failures that I've had. I've learned from them. Example is I was offered 1% of Beats, the headphones that I'm
Oh,
wearing.
really? Okay. I have them
Uh,
on right now. Awesome.
and so do I. And I passed on it because I thought I should have gotten 5%. Well, the 1% would have been $30 million. I made a mistake of putting a group of boys, well, young men, with a group of young ladies on a tour bus to save money for both of them.
Mhm.
That was a mistake in looking back.
Okay.
There's been many mistakes, professional and personal mistakes that I've made in life.
Okay.
Anybody that's doing something are going to make mistakes. It's the people, again, that's not doing anything and playing life safe. They don't make any mistakes.
Yeah, more young people need to come out to vote. And you hit on racism, and I want to ask you, because you've been in the industry for a while, how do you feel about racism and colorism in music? We've seen it for many, many years, and Black Americans have shaped the way the music is here, overseas. Even now with the K-pop, you see a lot of the influences from here.
A great question. I mean, for anyone to think that racism is not across the board, racism is everywhere. So,
Okay.
To think that it wouldn't be in the music industry, yes, absolutely. We need more Black and brown and females in leadership positions in entertainment, all areas of entertainment. That's where it starts because those are where the decisions are made. Similar to voting, that's where the decisions are made in the White House.
Mhm.
We need, that whole thing of colorism. I talk about this in
Mhm.
my second book, Racism from the Eyes of a Child. I talk in detail about racism and my journey through racism. I'm not just talking about racism. I've lived with racism growing up in Gaston, Alabama. But colorism is a thing that happens across all. It's 2 forms of colorism. There's colorism where white folks feel somewhat more comfortable with talking to someone that looks more like them.
Okay.
That's one form of colorism. And then, unfortunately, there's a degree, and it's got a lot better, that in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s, that with Black folks, there was colorism based on our shades of color
Mhm.
and our shades of Black. So if you look at pop America, pop music, and you look at those artists that have been highly successful, women primarily, not so much as men, but women primarily, you would see with Black women, what do they have in common is their shade of their complexion.
Mhm.
They have that in common. That's not me talking. Those are facts. You can research this information and see the top black female pop artists, and you would see this. And there's always an exception. There might be one or two, but when I look at it from an overall standpoint, that's a fact. That's not, the question is, would you be able to be a pop star, maybe an R&B star?
Right.
But it would be difficult for you to be a pop star. Not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it will be difficult because the perception of a record label and the perception of people is different.
Pop is what, it's more of a white lane, whereas R&B, they will push you into an R&B lane based on your color, which I've noticed even with male artists.
Well, I mean, that's up to the team that the artists have to clearly define what their artists are. When you go into the music industry and you don't have a game plan and a strategy, you'll get put anywhere. It's up to the artist and their team, mainly the manager, to come in with a strategy and fight for that artist on what that is. Like I did with Destiny Child and Beyoncé and Solange, that I did not want them to be pigeonholed into one genre of music. And I did it because of marketing. First day of class, this is my 14th year as a college professor. The first thing I asked the first day of class, because these are mainly marketing and entrepreneurship type courses, the demographics of America. Most people don't even know the demographics. How many white people are here in America? How many brown people in America? How many black people? How many Asian Americans? Most people, 95% or more, have no clue. Give numbers like 1 million, 600,000, not knowing it's approximately 230 million white people, approximately 40 million black people, 55 million brown people, 16 million Asians. So if I'm going to sell a product, why would I sell it to 40 million people when I can sell it to 350 million people? Okay. Why would you ever do that? And why would I sell it to 350 million people when I can sell it to 7.2 billion people if I approach it from a worldwide perspective?
Okay, and you've been successful at this. You've been able to, not even just in the music industry, but like you said before then, do you think, and this is just me putting this out there, that some of it, of course, systemic racism is what impacts a lot of Black Americans. We saw it in redlining with the equity in homes where we didn't create the amount of wealth over years, but is a lot of it also has to do with the lack of know-how? Like there's a big gap because we talk to different business owners on this platform all the time. And one of the things that comes up is a lack of knowledge. Like we just didn't get that information. Do you think that that's part of it?
That's absolutely a big part of it. Knowledge is power, which is why I love to teach. I mean, when people talk to me for the first time, media has painted this picture. And when people walk away, they always walk away. I had no idea this guy was so intellectual. I had no idea. I mean, the Jedi mind trick of the media is to paint a certain picture, especially of Black men. But knowledge is everything.
Now, you're legendary in the music industry. You are a part of creating one of the most legendary groups of all times. What was that like, looking back at it, like that you accomplished something that has completely changed the stratosphere?
Well, I'm very proud, first of all, as a father, because Beyoncé and Kelly and all the girls worked so hard for this. This has always been Beyonce's dream since she was a kid, Solange as well. So first of all, foremost, happy for them. But I'm most proud that they're good people. And in this crazy world of entertainment, you haven't heard any crazy stuff that Solange and Beyoncé always laugh other than the elevator. But you know Solange, that was just some sibling crazy that happens with kids. So I didn't take that like the world. And I'm grateful that in my lifetimes I've been given several opportunities to impact the world through my cancer, to impact the world, uh, being the number one sales rep in the medical division of Xerox in the world. That's a pretty heady accomplishment. 3 years being the best in the world. And so when you see my kids being the best in the world, I hope it's because they also saw their father be the best in the world, and what was required to be the best in the world. And what you do is keep out chatter and negativity.
Okay. I can appreciate that. And I'm a huge fan of Destiny's Child. Listened to them since I was young. And of course, Beyonce and Solange. So you did an amazing job with raising your children. Of course, I don't know them personally, but from on the outside.
Yeah, well, thank you. And how they give back to their community. But I do want to say one thing on that topic, because I'm at a point in my life that's where you leave your legacy. And I just want it told accurately.
Okay.
Most of the information is his story. And I'd rather tell my story, which is accurate and truthful. His story or history would have you to believe I quit corporate America to work with Beyonce and her group, little girl group, Girls Time. My first artist was Lil O, a rapper.
Okay.
And you can verify this by going to YouTube. Lil O, Can't Stop is the single. And you see it features these little girls called Destiny.
Okay.
You see, Girls Time became the Dolls, became Something Fresh, became Cliche, became Destiny, became Destiny's Child. This artist, Lil O, was on the number one urban record label in the world, MCA, with Puffy, with Mary J. Blige, way before I got Destiny's Child a deal.
Okay.
History wouldn't want you to know that Earth, Wind, and Fire last album, OJ's last album, Shaka Khan last album, Dion Ferris last album, De La Soul last album, Ray J last album, Shaka Khan and the London Symphony were all made on my record label. These are legendary people. See, history just want to talk about Beyonce and Destiny's Child. They don't want you to know a black man did that. See, his story never wants a black man to be credited for that type of impact.
So make sure you are registered to vote, and then make sure you actually go out and do it.
I don't know if people paying attention and listening, but we're not talking 4 million. This will be the most impactful decision of our lifetime.
Want to thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.